Okay, so there obviously, as expected, there was a lot of questions about, because people have opinions of AI, and really it's a topic that sorry, I have no words left. I mean, I'm totally useless here, so I'm just going to read.
It must be really bad.
I think I'm still able to read, but no promises. Okay, so highest voted question. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Agentic web. Isn't there risk that this approach weakens media literacy and deepens echo chambers by removing exposure to diverse perspectives? Discouraging critical thinking that would come from seeking out and comparing different sources.
So the question is, if we're living in an agentic web, will we end up in little bubbles because we're not looking for different sources? That's a great question, to which I say, aren't you already living in a bubble on Facebook and Twitter and just seeing what some corporate guy in a tower wants you to see? It's usually ads. I mean, we live in bubbles. The only way that we can live in our own bubble of our own making is to have our own algorithms. And there will be people who do not want to leave the bubble. There are people who live in the woods here who do not want to know that they're connected to the rest of the world or what the rest of the world is doing. There are people where I grew up who wanted that too. There are people in cities who prefer to imagine they don't exist. That's unavoidable as part of the human condition. But I do think if anyone is going to be crafting a bubble around themselves, it should be the individual and not someone else.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's opinion. Did you all have some thoughts? You got mics.
I mean, I like your opinion, Rachel, but I have the same concern about critical thinking, being critical of sources and just blindly accepting AI, especially when it can just make up stuff sometimes. But I mean, news things make up things and people just believe things. So I think it's really it's an individual responsibility. I don't really have a strong opinion because I don't really have experience with agents personally myself yet.
Sebastian, do you want to say no? Okay, so the current AI is like heavily biased. So training optimized models based on large ones just increases that. So how can we ensure that this new version of web isn't just a words wrapper around existing content? We already distrust content online. Why trust agents?
Well, first off, I don't actually build or profit off of any LLMs, unfortunately. It would be really handy if I did. Once again, I think in this case, I'm going to speak as a person who will, like you, be a consumer of LLMs that have been built by other people. They're really expensive to build. The ones that have been built are imperfect, and they're trained on the horrors that are the Western web, the good and the bad. But I have hope that LLM technology itself will become easier to build for people, for instance, who want to build an LLM based on their own laws or their own language. I was having a lovely conversation with oh gosh, the creator of the artwork that was on display, that when you tap it and it gives you a soundscape based on your description, and I've forgotten his name because I'm on the stage. Say it.
Taro.
There we go. And we were talking, and I was saying how people mistake LLMs for intelligence, and they're not. They're just a map of language that can infer meanings between chunklets. And it looks smart the same way a parrot talking looks smart, but it doesn't actually have an understanding of what it's saying. I think that's something that people in the Bay Area are really unaware of. They're just in too deep. And it sounds really intelligent, and they've fallen in love with this Palantir. But you can take a snapshot of an entire language and keep it as a graph. What about dying languages, like Icelandic or Navajo? And these people don't have access to those things. We would be able to preserve a lot of knowledge. And I'm hoping that we will start creating, as the bigger LLMs become easier to build, smaller LLMs that come from a selection of content that is perhaps less biased and more the way we'd like it to be. And then something, humans are always biased. And when you show me perfect technology that isn't biased and everyone can agree to use it, I'll use that.
Stephanie and Sebastian, do you want to comment? I'm sorry, it's really difficult to have a conversation when your
I know, I
speeches
feel
are very
like
different.
a little like, because we didn't use AI in our projects, like, do I have an opinion?
I think that gives you an excellent opportunity to have an opinion.
I mean, I'm wary of using LLMs. I mean, even when I was using it to do boilerplate code and then asking it back to explain, it doesn't say, it says wrong things. It told me to require the uncompiled code into my Node.js file, and I had to correct it, and it was like, oh, thank you, I need to learn that. Yes, and I also have seen things about like LLMs don't like to say no to you, and I really feel that when I have interacted with the AI, and it feels really creepy to me, and I think this is why I'm not so much like wanting to heavily interact with it, because I don't need a yes bot. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I just don't really have a strong opinion, except it's not for me right now. Yeah.
It has a long way to go before it earns the trust of the everyman. I'm hoping that will add pressure to the people building the systems to build better ones.
Oh boy. Yeah, so to me, as I'm not a coder and I'm coming kind of out of the art industry, theater and music, this is kind of where my heart is. And I just get really scared when I see those very great models that just you give it a prompt and it makes decent music, I would say. Like, I'm very surprised how some of those models sound. And I'm just scared that like artists, like not that the art itself is just outsourced, but if you just need to buy some music as a background for some product or some advertisement stuff, this is just work that will disappear. And to me, this turns this whole thing more into a like art for me cannot be, it's not really a product to me because it's connected to feelings. And when something makes music that doesn't feel, it feels weird to me.
There was a whole discussion on webcomics Reddit about this because someone submitted they said they couldn't draw, so they submitted a comic of two fans having an argument that was generated entirely by a stable diffusion model. And it created this entire wave of arguments about like, what is the appropriate use of AI? And it really does boil down to, I think, emotion. You know, art is expressing emotion, and how can something that doesn't have emotions express anything that is useful to other humans? I mean, I guess then it's just design. But
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe it can create something that can bring emotions to people. I don't know.
you mean like a Norman Rockwell painting? I think, but it's true. Like the illustrators I know have seen their commissions halved. I don't think people care about emotion when they just want like an avatar that looks like Hayao Miyazaki art. And it's kind of sad to see how little people valued like actual artists making things. But we've seen this before, like in the industrialization of knitwear and many things where handicraft is still valued, but not like it was.
True.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. Rachel, you're going to Helsinki JS, did you say? So if you have more questions to Rachel, you can follow her. Sorry. But Stephanie and Sebastian, you're not gonna go to the, yeah. So I think this is your last chance to touch the installation, so before they take it out. But thank you so much.